everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. Special show today. We have a fourth, something we almost never do, but wanted to have Spud Gun on. Welcome, everybody. Everybody say hi, Spud Gun.
Hi, Spud Gun.
And
hi, Spud Gun.
Of course, our co-host, Terry Dumanis.
Hello.
And Genty Maxey.
Hello.
Mash is in the chat. Mash says, I guess it's hammer time. No, it's the four of us for today, not just me. I got some things to talk about when it comes to that. I might have to put up a couple of streams on my own channel. So prepare yourselves. It may happen. Probably not. Let's go ahead and say hi to chat real quick while we're getting started here. Kiever Dam, first person in chat. Yo. How you doing, sweetie? Spud being on the show is also in chat. Scrolling. Still scrolling. OG Costin's in chat. Hello. Mash, of course, is in chat. Hey, Camel. How's it going, Camel? And did I forget anybody? Johnny Hellcat, our Thursday night host, is here tonight. Hello. I think I covered everybody. There'll be more people coming in as the show goes along, of course. Got a couple of cool things to talk about tonight. I don't know what we'll get to. The first is the $8 check. That is Elon Musk wants to charge us $8 for our check mark. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, all the woke people are losing their minds. Amnesty is about the article from the Atlantic saying that they want everybody just to forget about lockdowns and the forced injections and all that kind of stuff.
Never happened.
And the left advocating for it and the right absolutely denying it. Finally, we'll get to the donger. I mentioned before the show to the crew. There was a movie called 16 Candles, and there was a character in there, an Asian guy who was just doing everything he could to get laid, and they called him the donger. And that's kind of where I got that bet for it. It's not really from the movie. It's because I ran into a lewd Twitch ASMR creator named Diddly Donger. And we had kind of a back and forth. Not too terribly interesting, but I thought I'd bring it up. And also probably going to talk briefly about some of the issues I had with tonight's stream. Apparently, as far as YouTube and OBS and everything is concerned, everything is okay, but I had to actually have an electrician come out to my house today and rewire my mom's bedroom. I've closed down the farm. There's no reason for me to have both open. My mom's house is a little easier for me to get to things from than my farm. My farm's out in the boonies, and there's nobody around. If I'm having problems with my health, there's really nobody to help me. So I've moved into my mom's house now that she's gone, and my entire configuration is here now. And apparently the electrical system in the bedroom had some issues. So I got up yesterday, went to get on my computer, and I threw the switch to turn on all the peripherals, not the actual computer, just the monitor and the speakers and all the small stuff, and it popped the circuit. But it only kind of popped the circuit. The circuit has the wall outlets plus a light in the ceiling. All the outlets went out, the ceiling stayed on. So I was like, my dad's an electrician. He taught me everything I know, but obviously not everything he knew. And I can wire a house, okay? Not a big deal. So I figured, well, what's going on here? So I checked all the sockets, and I was getting nothing from the sockets. But I took a night light, and I plugged it into the socket, and the night light came on. Now, wait a minute. The night light's on in a socket that nothing else will work in. What manner of voodoo is this? I realized pretty quickly this is above my pay grade. So I gave the local electrical group up where I live now a call, and I said, got outlets out. I run some extension cords. I'm alive. Everything's okay, but I need someone to come out here. And they said, well, we'll have people give you a call at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I was like, oh, great, 8 a.m. Okay, that's fine, no problem. So extension cords running throughout the house to try to take care of my computer and its UPS, and another circuit separate for the monitors and all that kind of stuff, because I don't want to put everything on one circuit and pop a breaker because of all the power. So I have the electrical guys show up, not call me, but show up at 8 a.m. So they came out and they actually did the work, and they kind of fixed the socket. So all the sockets now work. The light works. Everything's cool. The light you can still turn off and on. Everything's fine. But the socket that has all the peripherals, I can no longer turn that off. The socket is permanently hot. The only way they can fix it is to run a whole new circuit from the house, because the wire from the breaker to this bedroom is broke. So they would have to replace the entire wire all the way through, and that's mucho doleros, and I don't have that kind of money right now. So the everything is on.
So I think this is Hammer's way of saying he's just started an OnlyFans.
Yeah, nobody wants to see my OnlyFans. But the point being is that I'm a little tentative about something popping a circuit and losing the show tonight. So I want everybody out in the audience to cross their fingers and hope that everything stays. So everything's on now. Everything works. Everything's plugged in. Everything seems to be okay. Just before I start the stream, I fire up OBS to make sure that the 4-person format is still proper and it works. And OBS comes up and says, "You need to update." So electrical problem, and now OBS wants to update. So I update OBS. It apparently is working as well as it could. Everything's good, right? So open up StreamYards. My microphone doesn't work. All right. So I spent 5 minutes fixing that. That's why we didn't get together until quarter of. Usually I'm on 8:38, a lot sooner. But I was just trying to fix all the problems. But I want everybody to wish us good luck for tonight, because this is one of those things where everything that's possible has gone wrong. And I fixed everything as well as I think I can. But I don't know what's going to happen in the next hour. So anyway, after that long discussion, Spud, you've been in the chat many times. You've been on several of the streams with Minions, Monkey, all that kind of stuff. For the people who don't know you, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Spud. I'm the local right-wing lunatic.
I saw your Twitter profile.
Yes.
And you are located in
this slightly chilly UK. I'm English, so we have a nice cosmopolitan mix of peoples.
Yeah. How specific can we get? Are you more towards Grimwald or more towards Islington, or where are you generally? Are you near London?
I'm in the northeast.
Oh, you're in northeast. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Cool.
So you're talking around Newcastle,
right? Newcastle. Exactly what I was thinking. So
are you also haunted by both Batman and TC? Because they like to haunt men your age with dad jokes. Like I thought our dad jokes were bad, but your dad jokes are worse.
I've not been up to Newcastle, but I've been that region, and holy fuck, is that area cold? I don't know how anyone can live there.
Remember, we have Jen here.
Oh.
But I haven't been to Canada, so I can't compare them.
Oh.
But I have been to England, and holy fuck, is it cold?
I know, just because you're from the UK doesn't mean you know everyone in the UK. I just figured everyone knew who Batman was, because he... Yeah.
Oh, I know who he is, but I've never met him.
Oh, not in real life, no.
He's been on Quippers, hasn't he, Terry?
Many times.
Yeah.
Batman's great. I'm just saying that he's got dad jokes, and TC's got his own room for dad jokes.
Who's TC?
The other Batman. Don't tell him I said that.
I don't know who that is. TC.
I actually know quite a few people from the UK, mostly because of hanging out with Blind Girl, but also because of Manic Pete and Alex.
Alex. I was going to say the only other person I know is Alex. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking UK as opposed, because there's more than just England and UK, but he's the only
yeah,
person I know
they-
from England. So
Yeah, well, now you know me.
yeah, truly, we maintain our international cast. So
Well,
we've
that
got
and there's Wandering Lisa and
yeah, we had Lisa on too. She was
Mhm.
another person, but we except for Scribe, who I have Scribe's my man because he knows more about movies than I do. So he is my thought leader. Um, we've been able to maintain. We had Adam on though, didn't we? Did we have Adam on?
Yeah. We
Yeah,
did
Adam's
Adam
from the
online.
U.S. He's out in Chicago. So for the most part, we've been able to maintain our international cast.
Yeah, I
So.
mean,
well, you're almost at
mostly
the
been-
point where I can't help wondering if the colony isn't taking taking over a little bit here.
it's mostly been English people that we've had on, though I think we've also had Canadians
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
as
mean,
before.
the thought was never to have any guests. Generally,
No.
I only did this because I wanted to break my own rule and have Scribe on. So I figured, well, I've got the configuration for 4 people. Maybe we should bend that rule a little bit. So it's been a treat having somebody come in as a 4th because it's a new perspective, and I enjoy having guests on the show. I'd like to get more people. As time has gone by, it's been nothing but a good thing. I'd like to get more people get tailed on here, and there's a bunch of people on my list to get on here. I'd love to have Bearing shit stop by.
I got to appreciate Camel because he just explained TC in a way that I always forget that he uses a squirrel emoji.
Is that his actual name, TC, or is that an acronym?
No, he goes by TC. I don't
Okay.
know if that's his real name. Like,
I'm
Yeah,
just going to think of him as Top Cat.
So,
Yes.
so as Spud is our guest for the evening, and you've heard the 3 choices. Is there anyone that you want to start with?
Okay, I'm gonna say the donger because Twitch thought it's just funny.
It is. It's probably going to be the ones that we want to talk about the least because it's just my personal experience with somebody from Twitch on
There's
YouTube.
not really much of a story there, but
No.
it's just an
No, it's not a
interesting to bring
story.
up.
It's an experience. So it's going to be mostly me talking about it, but and Terry's kind of kept up with it, but so I hesitate to even get involved, but this story harkens back to another person I follow named Claudia Brown. She was originally known as the Ranting Feminist, and her and Monkey used to get into it pretty often because they're ranting people. That's their thing. And so I followed her from him, and I've interacted with her from time to time, and she's a feminist and a leftist, and not a tanky, not a fascist, just feminist leftist. And for much as she hates hearing me say this, she's a reasonable person. If she says something, and I can talk to her, and explain, and she'll, oh yeah, I was wrong, no problem. She's not one of those people who are like, oh, well, you're just a Nazi. Blah, blah, blah. She's not one of those kind of people. She's just reasonable. So we can have a communication. She follows me on Twitter. I follow her on Twitter. It's the only person who's hard left that I've been able to get to follow me. Not like I convinced her of it. She just did it. So I was kind of like, oh, you're going to follow me? Well, fuck yeah, I'll follow you back, So I see, because she follows me and she likes things, those people that she follows and likes shows up on my stream or on my feed. So from time to time, I see pictures of this person going by my feed from, just, once every couple of weeks or something like that. No big deal. Just basically ignore it. I'm a 60-year-old guy. This is I guess, 20-something-year-old girl. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, another 20-year-old showing her tits, whatever. Just scroll by, no big deal, kind of deal. Just immediately dismiss her. But then she makes a post where she doesn't put a picture on, and she says, I've got X amount of people following me, I deserve a check mark, or something along that lines. I'm paraphrasing here.
But before you get too into it, Otho May in chat wanted me to tell you, he says thank you for the entertainment on Twitter.
Oh, okay. He got into this with me anyway.
Yeah.
Otho did. And he was brilliant in going back and forth with her. And he carried the conversation. I guess you guys carried the conversation on after you left me out of the tag. But I was immediately uncomfortable because of who she appeared to be. Because I'm not going to make any comments about who she is because I don't know her. But she is on Twitch. She does play games. She does do ASMR. I've seen the ASMR mic she uses. Supposedly she does lewd content. Supposedly, can't speak today. She has an OnlyFans, and she might be doing more than lewds. I don't know.
I have the thread up if you want me to read the exact tweet
Yeah, go ahead.
she put out. She says, Twitter's verification system already is the worst of any social media platform. I'm not even eligible to apply for a blue tick despite being a D-list niche internet micro-celebrity.
Right, I'm going to say I did like that bit because that was sort of making fun of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that as a joke. Like she's just...
Yeah, I like the self-depreciation in that.
Whenever you deal with somebody who's a Twitch streamer, an ASMR creator, got a lot of followers, especially a young girl, you know that it's going to be very difficult for someone that young to have a nuanced perspective with any kind of experience.
Mhm.
So she's just going to, and it's not her fault. Guys are just throwing money at her. There's going to be a certain amount of entitlement. And that's what I got out of that tweet was like, well, I should have Twitter. I should have check mark because I make a lot of money and, you know, that kind of deal. That's what I read. So I didn't want to light a fuse. I just wanted, I gave her the 10-foot roll. I stood 10 feet away from her and I made some simple questions. Why do you think you should? What is it about your content? Blah, 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 blah. Just generic, very sanitary terms. Try to not get anybody, you know, up in arms or, you know, ruffle anybody's feathers. Just because, you know, I can. I don't pull my punches very often, and I'm controversial, and I like that about myself. And this time I was going to play it cool. So I did. And the first question was a simple response. Everything's cool. I was like, okay, maybe this person's kind of like Claudia. Maybe she's reasonable. I don't know. Ask another question, have a little conversation, see where it goes. I should know better. The very next thing that came back to me was, you're a content creator. Because I told her I was a content creator too. You're a content creator too? Well, your account doesn't have anything on it. You're nobody. Blah, 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 blah. Now, she didn't use those exact words, but it was the attitude. I'm paraphrasing, but she was demeaning me because I didn't have the account that she did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, her tweet says, do you mean your inactive YouTube channel with 100 subs? I'd argue my 70+ million view channel has a bit more of an impact on society, to be honest.
Not really, no.
It doesn't.
That's the entitlement that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With that kind of following and being on Twitch and being with the content that she creates, and obviously several different types of content, not just one, but the fact that she's doing lewds, you're going to get guys throwing money at you. So you can hear it in her voice. I'm better than you. It's Anna. It's right out of Anna's mouth. You know?
So the first one I could have passed off as a joke, sort of like, ha, why don't I have a blue check mark? I'm oh so important, but like sarcastically, because like I could read that as a joke, but her reply to you, where she's like, you only have 100 subs, who are you?
Right.
That one, the entitlement was just radiating through the screen.
Right. The first tweet you didn't catch but I'm hypersensitive to it. So you did the right thing. You gave her the benefit of the doubt. But I saw it like House would see a problem, you know. Kid walks in with stuff he knows. Oh, you have cancer of the lymph nodes. You know, just jump to the worst possible solution.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I saw in this girl. I thought to myself, okay, on the outside, this seems pretty normal, but knowing who she is, I bet you this is not normal. And I was right.
Yeah, you were.
I'd also say she's falling prey to the same trap that Twitter has been playing everyone for the longest time. And I hate throwing Jeremy credit because sometimes that guy just talks out his ass and most of the time he's just putting out videos. But here's the thing though. He actually looked into what the blue check mark like gives you.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't give me anything.
Like
it will.
Best rate,
We'll get to that when we get on to $8 check, but right now it's just a little icon. That's it.
But
No,
but
it
even
does give you one important thing. and that is protection against imposters to a degree.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if I'm, if
Well, that's
I
what it
make
was
an
supposed
account,
to do. Yes.
Yeah, if I make an account called James Woods,
Yeah.
then people will know I'm not actually James Woods because I don't have the blue check mark.
Yes.
And there are certain
But-
people out there whose real name is actually James Wood who are just making an account thinking, oh, well, I don't watch movies. I don't even know who James Wood is. You know, he's a great actor, but he's not off the top of your tongue Tom Cruise, but he is a great actor.
Exactly.
So you're just James Woods who probably is not thinking twice and just makes an account. And people are like, you're trying to do this. And he's like, well, I'm just making my account.
Yeah, but no. So there is value in having the blue check mark
Sure.
if you are prominent enough that you are concerned people will try to, like copy you and like pretend to be you. Then there's value in it. Like, if you're,
But,
if you're
I think if there's,
AOC,
yeah, if there's something unique about you, if you're different than everybody else, there's only one cat turd.
But
Yeah.
in that sense, yeah, the $8. In all honesty, if that was the thing, like if I actually had something to my little Genti Maxi thing, then yeah, I could spend $8. It's not that big a deal for a year.
Yeah.
It's not. That's maybe a little like what? That's not that's like a Netflix at this point.
Yeah.
But
But
here's the thing,
but
though.
to get back onto Donger though, because we got a whole subject for talking about that $8 check. I don't want to get too much into that because that's going to be a whole nother. I want to keep that as a whole nother discussion. But so we kind of start having this back and forth, and I can see it's getting a little intense. And I try to back out just to give you an idea what her content is. I'll just try to mentally describe a picture. I don't want to put anything up on the screen because I don't want anyone to find out that I put a picture on the screen and get a content strike or do any of that kind of stuff. But I'll just describe it. The picture that I saw most recently was her in a plaid red kilt-like skirt that was about 3 inches too short. So it showed that she was wearing a pair of white cotton panties, a tight pink shirt that was too small for her with no bra on. She has braces. She's blonde. She's attractive enough. And she has her finger pulling down her lip.
I'll disagree on the attractive thing. I really don't see the appeal of this lady.
She's not. I mean, if you make it a total package, I could see guys getting a hard on for that. Maybe not literally.
Yeah, but to be fair, we're pretty stupid when it comes to that.
Yes, we are. So that's the kind of that's when you see her post stuff, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about here. But I didn't judge her. You know, even though if you want to do that, make your money. I don't care. It's not going to affect me. I'm 60 years old. I've matured past seeing that kind of stuff and saying, "Oh, I must give her to her OnlyFans. She's so cute." No. That's not going to work on someone my age. So, so I hesitated initially to even contact her, and finally, as the conversation got involved with Ortho, who ran with it in a great way. I was laughing the entire time. I just told her, "Look, obviously I have ruffled your feathers. Just untag me from this conversation, and I'm out of it." So eventually, it either died down. We really need to have Ortho, if he's still in chat, kind of give us an update because he went on for a little while, and I think he untagged me because I told her to untag me. So they may have kept going. I don't know. But
you asked to be untagged, and she's like, "Well, just block me."
Yeah, and I explained to her I don't like to. I don't think I have really right now. I don't think I have anybody on my block list, and I've been on. You know the Twitter maven that I am. You would think that I'd be blocking people on a regular basis, but I don't block anybody because I think people use being blocked as a trophy, and I don't want to give them. Yeah, and I don't want to give them that satisfaction. What I will do if somebody is really a problem with me, really a problem, I will mute them.
I said that to somebody last week. Like I actually took a break from Twitter anyway, just because I was like, yeah, it's gonna be a bloodbath. When I come back, it's gonna still be a bloodbath. I'm not gonna miss much. But, you know, before I left, it was one of those things where this guy was like, oh, we're just going to all have to flee. And I'm just like, so you're going to lose your own voice, because the idea of somebody saying something that's opposing to your views is just so you can't handle it. That's why you don't have a voice. It's not because you can't speak. There's no one here stopping you from speaking. At best, they're taking a look at what you're saying and they're questioning you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Or in
everybody's right, including yours to do to me. So don't run away. It's stupid. You're just going to come back anyway and then feel stupid because you left in the first place while everybody else was speaking on your behalf for you.
Well, that's kind of where the story ended with her. So, like I said, Ortho, if he's still in chat, he can tell you if it ever went any further. But I will say one thing in the end of this to just tidy the subject on so we can move on because it's already 9:30. She didn't block me.
She did?
She did not.
Oh, she did not. Okay.
She did not block me. So I just
That's
checked.
good.
I just checked while Jen was talking. I checked, and I got on my Twitter account on another browser, and I did a search on @DiddlyDonger, and her account came up to me. So that if an account comes up, that means you're not blocked.
Right.
Right. So yeah. So my experience with another left-wing person did not end well, but this one didn't end as bad as it could have. There was not a lot of throwing of dishes and calls for divorce. It was okay. I'm out. I'm out. Have a nice day, and everything kind of was all right.
Yeah. Well, going back to it, I mean, as both you and Jem were saying, I mean, the blocking somebody is weak. Okay, I've got a block list of 0. The only blocks that I've ever used have been the obvious porn bots, and you know, I think I've been blocked by over 1,000 people. That's just the kind of guy I am.
I actually have a huge block list because anyone who pays to promote their tweet gets blocked. So a whole bunch of companies that pay Twitter to promote their tweets, block. Go away. Don't want to see you.
See, I don't even do that. I'll block porn bots for about normally 24, 48 hours. You know, the ones that DM.
Well, I don't have my DMs open, so they can't message me unless I follow them back, which I'm not going to do.
Is that why you're not following me back? So I can't send you feet pics.
I'm almost certain I do follow you, Spud.
I do too,
do.
I think. But, you know, I would check with mine because like I said, I took a break from Twitter anyway. But I had issues when they brought me back for, you know, I got in trouble, right, Spud God? I said the hard C word.
You dropped a C-bomb.
I dropped a C-bomb. They put me in the outbox.
See, you're talking to an Englishman and an Australian. We use those as just breaks, pause words.
I'm like the only person who can't say the C word and get away with it. It's Americans, man.
You can say it if you want. I'm not.
Yeah, you go for it.
I can't do it. It's one of those things. It's me personally, but it's America in general. We don't have what the Australians and even other countries. We don't have that freedom when it comes to the language to use that word here to someone here about someone here. You guys can say it because it's common or more accepted where you are, but here it's like it's almost like the N word. It's pretty close.
Well, it's also got different context. When you guys use it, it's different context. I mean, you can even tell when you're using it and it's meant to be foul versus what you're usually using it for.
Well, it's always foul here.
Whereas with me, like, yeah, I can tell a joke because I hang out with an awful lot of British and Australian people. But at the same time, though, even I'm aware of, like, I wouldn't just drop one unless I knew I was going to word it well.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a difference in how you say it. Like, I mean, just because like people might be uncomfortable. Like, I'll give a different example. With Della, I said goodbye by saying "fuck you" and I'll see you tomorrow. Right? The Curb Your Enthusiasm quote. Now, clearly, I have no anger towards Della. It's just, you know, we were having a sort of mock fight with gifs on Twitter, and I had to go to bed. So I said, "Look, I'm going to bed." And then I put "fuck you" and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can curse and make it a joke between people. That's perfectly acceptable. But and Keyword Dan points out in chat that it's America. We're free. We can, we should be able to say that, and we can. I could. We have the freedom to do it, but I personally can't bring myself to use that word. It's just my own personal thing. I'm just not that guy.
Well, it like I said, like culturally speaking, if you're not used to it, you're not going to necessarily think of the flow. So it's still going to be awkward. Like in the back of your mind, you're still thinking of the notto. Like, yeah, it's not necessarily okay. So I wouldn't necessarily use it because I like to think that my parents threatened me enough with a wooden spoon to not use foul language, you know?
Or your mouth washed out with soap.
Yeah.
Well, you know where I'm at. My mom's a devout Catholic woman, or was. So yeah, she didn't approve of any cursing either.
No, I wouldn't say it to my mother because I know she hates the word. So because I know that, I just won't say it in her company.
But it's different there. If you were talking to one of your buddies on the phone and said it to one of your buddies on the phone, and your mom overheard you, she wouldn't be really upset with you, would she?
No, she doesn't like the word, so I won't use it. But if she overheard me say it, she wouldn't care. It'd be like, she just wouldn't like it.
My mum was different. She absolutely hated the word. And if she overheard it, it'd be crack round the back of the head.
Well, if I said it when I was a kid, then absolutely that would have happened. As an adult, what's she going to do to me?
Have you noticed Keyword Dan in chat? She's on fire tonight.
Yeah.
And I got to mention too. She said, "Fuckity bye." And there was a movie called Juno with then Ellen Page. And she's having a baby, and it's just before she's getting her spinal tap, and she has her hands on her kidneys, and she's walking around. She goes, "Ow, ow, fuckity ow!" It's one of the funniest part of the entire. Just the way she says it. The word "fuckity" is funny. If you actually add a few words before and after it, and use "ity" on the end of the word, suddenly it becomes a hilarious phrase. When you do that. So when she did that, it made me laugh. That's what I was laughing about. But.
Exactly, it's
oh fucking hell. That's hilarious. Anyway, so do we want to get on to $8 check?
Sure.
Yeah. So this kind of feeds into my deal with her, but Elon wants to charge. More than likely, he said $8. Knowing how capital works, it's going to be like $7.99. Because he wants everyone to think. Yeah. So basically $8 to get your own check mark. And I kind of thought about this, and I thought, well, what happens if he gave the people who were important the blue check mark, or that were distinguished, and used it simply for these people we know are the people that you think they are, but gave people a different check mark if they wanted to pay for it?
I think I think it should be purely for verification, like as the name suggests, purposes. So if you care enough that you want to be the one-ton hammer that is known on Twitter,
I am,
and you want to pay for it, then have at it.
Twitter made the mistake here. You all realize that Twitter was the one that made the mistake when they took the
100%.
Yeah, when they took the verification tag,
they took it off Milo.
Off of Milo, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
When they took it off of Milo, they made it clear that this is
political
gonna be,
thing.
this is a punitive damage that we're trying to do here. We're trying to
Yeah, well, because Milo Yiannopoulos did not stop being Milo Yiannopoulos when he offended Twitter.
correct.
Like,
Well,
he
it-
should still be verified as being himself.
It's not just him. It's almost every prominent YouTuber that's not like a Steven Crowder in size. And Steven, to his side, he has his own business, and he has probably had it started since he pretty much put his stuff on YouTube to begin with. Like, he's always kind of had a side hustle, because I think he knew that YouTube was gonna not be a forever thing. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people plan ahead. Not everybody thinks everything should be like the cement that you put everything in. You know, some people spread out their bread baskets so that they're not screwed. But the thing is not everybody was that big at the time. And now there's other people who are bigger. And I'm not saying this to, you know, maybe Jeremy will give us a shout out someday. I don't know. But he's not wrong. He is 1.2 million people on YouTube. You know, like, why does he have to be like Tim Pool, who was a leftist? He has his check mark because he is still technically a leftist. He's just more conservative now because they've pushed everybody so far away. We're all in the middle now. We might as well just have a middle people party.
Poole has reinvented himself as this
I know.
radical centrist.
Yeah.
You know, he's just he reminds me a lot of Phil DeFranco, who I can't stand. He just oozes smarm.
I more watch him for his guests, for when he allows them to speak, because sometimes his guests are pretty good. But I don't know, the last couple times I watched, I was like, yeah. I have better things to watch right now. There's the Emergency Act, which, trust me when I tell you that Twitter isn't just fucking with Americans when it comes to your politics. It ain't just Facebook fucking with your politics. It's fucking with everybody's politics. Because I can guarantee you.
I've got more time for Tim Pool than Philip DeFranco, but I don't really like either of them.
Well, let me put it to you this way. There's nowhere to go. And that's kind of the problem that we've had. So, like, even if I can't trust that Elon's going to be like the golden brick road, because I don't think he is.
Elon's already, I don't know if you've looked at his tweets in the last, I think, 6 hours. If you look at who he's setting his new Trust and Safety Council up, Elon's not going to be the free speech merchant.
Of course
Not
not.
yet.
He's never going to be.
And I didn't think he was going to be.
Well, how do you know? He named one person that he says he trusts.
Right. Hang on, I'll go to his tweets.
Well, it's the guy that he's going with. And so I do have...
Be careful, because he's going to put a whole panel together, and this is just one guy, and he wants a diverse thought. He said specifically diverse thought. So he's going to have somebody who's on the left. He just hasn't announced yet the people that he has in the center and the people he has on the right. This is just the first step. He is surrounded by the left in that building. The first person he's going to pick is going to be a leftist. You know, it's just the way it is. But I'm hoping and praying that he does what he said he was going to do and builds a council of people of different thought. He said, he didn't say different skin color. So that's where my hope is that he's going to pick people who are on both sides of the aisle. He just happened to start with the left because that's what he has to pick from.
I mean, we'll see, but I think the people who are acting as if Elon is the second coming and that Twitter is going to turn basically into Gab are delusional. He's not going to make it some free speech utopia. There are going to be strict rules of some description that you have to abide by.
Well, if you... sorry, go on, Jen.
No, you go ahead. I always have lag with people across the ocean. It's not just Terry.
Yes, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, so he's right. He's talked to civil society leaders. Okay. Let's see. This got dropped at 4:51 a.m. So at some point this morning, right, he's talked to Jonathan Greenblatt, head of the ADL.
Mm-hmm. Is he on the council?
Well,
'Cause
it's
that's-
not about who's on the council.
Actually, it
Okay.
exactly is. He said, I'm building a council to take care of this.
Yeah, he's saying he's building a council, but
Right.
it's not about the people that are on the council. Okay. It's the soft power. Okay. For example, if you look at who he's talking to, we've got, let's see, Rashid Robinson, who I've never heard of. Okay, and let's see, who is the head of or something to do with a company called Colour of Change. Okay, which looks like a BLM offshoot, possibly, or something in that particular vein. Do you see what I'm getting at?
I talked to Claudia. I'm not a leftist. Just because you talk to somebody, this is not sins of the father territory for me. You can talk to whoever you want, whatever you want, but you have to maintain your own balance of what you think is right and wrong. Cat Turd kind of reacted to this too. He had the same opinion you have, is that he's looking in the wrong place. He's talking to the wrong people. We're in trouble. I'm not quite that black-pilled yet. I'm still hopeful, and maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe this is going to be a nightmare after all. I don't know, but he's talking to Michaela Peterson. So
No, I haven't seen that.
yeah,
I haven't seen that he's speaking to her.
and he sent a tweet out to her saying we're not going to be putting people in right away. You know, Jordan's off. And we're not going to be putting him back on right away because we're going to make this council first. So he was talking to her about her father. So
Right, I didn't realize he'd been hate speeched. No, he's on Twitter.
Jordan Peterson has an account on Twitter, but he can't speak because he made a tweet. And unless he deletes that tweet, he can't speak. But his account's still there, so he can read,
Right.
but he's not allowed to talk.
It's the same as the Babylon Bee was,
Yeah.
where they've been told you must delete this tweet and then face like a 1 week suspension. And I guess Jordan is doing what the Babylon Bee did, and they're just saying, no, I'm not going to delete it.
No, but the bee has been restored.
Yeah, but what that was the reason they weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't like kicked off. They just were unwilling to take the step required to restore access to their account.
Yeah, they're partially on Twitter. Their account exists, and you can send information to them, and they can read it, but they can't speak.
Right.
Babylon B and Jordan P. Peterson both have been. I was in this position once. The only time I've ever been beat up once is because of Ian Miles Chong, Still Gray, on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was talking about number of masks, and I said, well, why don't you just put a pillow over your face? I mean, you're going to suffocate yourself. He reported that, or somebody saw it and reported it. I don't even know if he did or not, but I got suspended from Twitter for self-harm, for suffocating yourself.
That is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but I don't have the character of the Babylon Bee or Jordan P. Peterson to say, well, I'll just stay off Twitter. I'm too addicted to it. So I said, I agree.
It's like
okay,
crack.
I did something bad. We both know it really wasn't bad, but I'll go ahead and, you take the hit to my, personality
It's
for
like-
this bullshit, whatever.
Yeah, it's like I got a 7-day ban for saying that a convicted paedophile of responding to a news story of a guy who diddled his daughter from the age of 7. Right? That.
Lovely guy.
Yep. I hope he meets a wood chipper accident.
Well, defensively, Susan, we're talking about defensively.
Defensively,
You have
yeah.
to realize we're still on big tech. So with the Minions channel,
Yeah.
we still have to be kind of cautious about how
Yeah,
we say
I mean,
things.
I'm not, I'm not saying it as a trying to get you in trouble or
No,
anything
no.
along those lines. It just...
It's frustrating, isn't it, when big tech has the ability to just squash you whenever they want?
Well,
Yes.
I can put it to you all pretty plainly. If you ever get a chance to go back over the last couple of days to watch some of the Emergency Act, because they've been doing the interviews with the convoy organizers, and they had their conversation with Pat King. And in all honesty, sometimes he says stuff that comes across as, man, he's such a spurg. But he was doing all of his streams via Facebook. And for 6 years, they would clip little things just so that they could repiece it together. So when they would play back this video in court, it just doesn't make sense, or it just looks like some random crazy dude talking like on a soapbox. I'm like, this guy talks too much. He's a little bit of a talker, but half the time he's telling jokes or he's reading something that sounds like random. He sounds like the northern version of an Alex Jones.
For people who don't know who this guy is, he is a little bit uncensored. He kind of speaks his mind, and he's one of the three people that were kind of in charge of it. It was King, a guy named Bauer, and Leash, the girl. I think were the three musketeers. At least as far as actually, Canadian web page news items go.
Yeah, that's the media, because the whole city was running their information off of the media instead of listening to the news reports.
Who were the ringleaders?
So it turns out that the ringleader, the first person to start this whole thing, is a lady, probably closer to her 50s, because she says she's got 3 kids. She's from Ontario. She's from Northern Ontario.
What's her name?
They screw. Her name is Bridget.
Okay.
Let me actually just. I'm just going to use YouTube because I was watching it earlier. I think they have their names all tagged in there. Because it was on the Rebel. They were streaming it. Thank you, Rebel, who doesn't share anything that I do. You know.
When I was looking for topics tonight, I was like, well, let's see what's going on in Canada. So I went to CBC News, which is probably not the smartest place to go, but I was just browsing for something that caught my interest, and there really wasn't anything. It was all about the truckers. The entire page is about the truckers. I was like, all right, well, one trick pony. This probably isn't going to give me a story. But I spent a couple minutes and read a couple of the articles, and they all basically pegged these 3 people as the runners of the show. And I was kind of like, why is this website, no matter what story it is, by who's writing it, why are they all saying it's these 3 people? It made me leery. So 2 guys, one was from Unity Canada was King, and there was another guy who was one of the actual truckers who was just coming over to who started it because of the actual lockdowns, because he had people in America that he needed to get across the border and all that. And then Tamara came on third as an organizer, and that's how they kind of painted this. And I was like, I probably should talk to Jen about this, because I don't know if this news site is right.
So it turns out that what they did, in all honesty, the more so I'm not going to be able to find her name. I do actually have clips to things that she said, because Viva's been watching it, like Viva Fry. But basically, from what they've described, they didn't really have specific leaders. There were people who kind of started it, who kind of was like, we're gonna start this thing. Anybody want to join in? And that's basically, it kind of started with. So she said she started with like maybe 120 people, and then she reached out and she got a guy from Quebec, and she got a hold of Pat King. And then she got a hold of another guy, Tom MotZ. And so it just escalated from there is what happened. So yes, everybody involved was a leader, but they all became leaders of their own groups. Yeah. And then their groups became leaders of their own groups. So the way it was structured was very different from what they were actually describing in the media entirely. And this is Canadian. this is very typical for Canadians, because the thing with Canadians is, no offense, Spud Gun, but if you know anything about World War I and II, we wanted to get rid of the thing where British officers like to name tag themselves in highlights. So we were like,
Yeah.
if you blend everybody in so you don't know who's in charge, it's really hard to find out who's in charge. And so that's what they did. And so it's not that anyone was in charge of any one thing. They were in charge of their sections. And that's why it worked, because they were taking care of that section at a time. Instead of one person being in charge of a whole spread out thing, which wouldn't have happened, because once they started, people were joining in. It wasn't just Ontario. It moved to Manitoba. It moved to Saskatchewan. It moved to Alberta. It moved back to Quebec. I think I don't think the Maritimes had one, but BC had some, and then it spread to other places in the world.
No, well, exactly. It was a big thing, and Canada was more united in those 3 or 4 weeks than at any time since the Great Maple Syrup Shortage of 1873.
Right? I'm just saying, it was just one of those things where sometimes when we catch on to something, we do. And we all were in agreement that, yeah, everything looked like it was being run by somebody who was out to lunch, who was a little bit power hungry. Nobody else was stretching things out that far. We're not
Mhm.
Japan. Yes, you should be clean, wash your hands, take care of yourself. I technically have COVID right now because my mom got the shot and then spent the whole day with me for telling me about it. I'll live, and at least it's me who got it and not her. But at the same time, though, I'm going to stay home for 10 days. That's what you should do. But the things that they were doing to these truckers are all of the reasons why a legal person would want to protest, would want to go to a parliament building, sit outside with signs, be a little bit of a nuisance, yes, but not anything illegal, and just be like, hey, can we work on this? Because we fucking pay you.
No, and you're absolutely right. It was the people actually rising up against tyranny.
But I'm just also saying, just to bring it back to Twitter too, but between Twitter and Facebook, they absolutely hid stuff.
Yes.
I'm saying I was obnoxious to as many of my American friends as I could, because I was looking for witnesses. It wasn't just to be like, hey, Canada's a little exciting. Look at us. We're dropping our pants in the middle of winter, guys. No, it was more of just because I knew that our media wasn't going to be honest about anything. And they're trying to hide from the fact that they did some bad stuff.
Well, absolutely. Because they've started a government inquiry, haven't they?
That's what this is about, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, right. I don't know if you've ever seen the old BBC series, Yes Minister.
I love that show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Well, in Yes Minister, Humphrey Appleby, who's the chief wonk of the British civil service in the show, right, makes the point that you don't open a government inquiry unless you know exactly what the outcome is going to be already.
Correct.
You don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to.
That's basic lawyer thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's going to come out of it is that the government did nothing wrong. The truckers were all evil right-wing fascist Nazis and all the rest of it. And then it'll be memory hold.
I think the fact that they brought out Bridget is going to blow that away. The fact that she's such a completely ordinary middle-aged woman who is running her own business, who is asking for bodily autonomy, when in her business she doesn't have to interact with anybody. Truckers don't have to interact with you. You know, if for the short 5 minutes that they're dropping off, sorry, I'm going to make a joke, but dropping off a load, yeah, they can wear a mask for that long. Most of the ones I do did. I wouldn't ask them about their medical status. It's none of my fucking business. But you know, they're in and out of their trucks for 5 minutes and then they're gone because they make their money by how many loads they can deliver. So they're not wanting to hang around you. They want to get away from you.
To be fair, our truck drivers tend to work on an hourly rate. Mm-hmm. But most of the truck drivers I've felt the same and just wanted to get away from me anyway.
Like that's kind of the joy of having the truck. It's that's your office, that's your space.
Uh-huh.
And what you do in between is what you do in between. But you know, the more our guys are on the road, the more money they make. You know, so they completely they decapitated so many businesses. And it's not just one. That's just one. The truckers weren't just speaking for them. I mean, they were. That was the point of it. But that was probably the highlight of my day watching that court with Pat King, because they were trying to accuse him of funneling in gas somehow. Like somehow he was the instigator of the gas canisters. You know, those images everybody remembers?
Yes.
That was Ottawa.
Yeah, because basically, if you had a gas canister or a jerry can, as we call them, and you were caught trying to take gas to the truckers, you were absolutely nicked enough down the cells.
Well, you were fined $5,000. So people were carrying so many gas canisters. Half of them had water, half of them were empty, and then some of them had gas.
Yeah, and it's like.
So it was. I'm sorry, that wasn't us. That was Ottawa, because they. I'm sorry. Like I said, if Twitter was being run the way that Facebook is being run, and it was being left to the leftists the way it still is, I'm sorry, the media is the one running our court system right now. They're ones that are dictating our court system up here. And so if Elon can get the bots to fuck off, that would be really nice. So that when we show things like, you know, videos of people being pepper sprayed in the face because they're like, keep the peace. We don't want problems. We're just here to protest. We just want to peacefully protest. That those images are the ones being circled because those people were being harassed for exercising their rights, and Twitter wouldn't want you to know that.
Yeah, there was that. There was a granny. I think she had a walker.
It was a medical scooter. Yeah.
It was a scooter, was it?
They're heavy. You can't just lift those. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, she kind of got trampled over by horses.
Mm-hmm. And there was a guy in front of her who got hit twice, and they never once mentioned him, but she did.
And you're just sitting there and thinking that, you know. And again, because it is a little bit of a bugbear of mine, everybody's focusing on the far right.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, look at what the actual government are doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the people that are supposed to uphold and protect your rights. And the first sniff of a chance they got, boom, gone.
one of those wishes that will not come true, because I know it's business and stuff, but you know what? I have to face reality, but I don't think all the bots that are following Trudeau are going to go.
No, absolutely not. You know, but it's the same with everything. The marketing men will find a way to ruin it.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see what Elon has in store for us in the future, as far as how he's going to get rid of bots. There's potential ways. You can tie it to a credit card, even if you don't charge any money, because they'll tie it to a credit card to be able to sign up or to remain signed up. So that would cut down bots by I would think would be a dramatic amount. Or
It would, but a lot of people are not going to like that idea.
no, they're not.
No.
No, they're not.
I
But if you present it to them like, well, you want to get rid of bots or don't you want to get rid of bots? How do you want to do this?
See, and that's a Morton's fork.
Yeah. I mean,
It's an offshoot of Hobson's choice. It's basically
No good option.
it's basically, do you want this bad choice or do you want this bad choice?
yeah.
You know,
Here's
like,
bad and worse. Pick one.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like the American presidential system. Here's bad and worse. Pick one.
To be fair, the biggest problem with the American presidential system is, and you're going to love this, but you did exactly what the founding fathers told you not to do. You let parties get hold of it.
Yeah, it
There
became
were
political.
never supposed to be parties.
Yeah, but there were parties ever since the beginning. The Whig Party was like the first party. That was Lincoln's party.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that the idea behind the founding documents. I mean, I'm going to ask, have you read any of the Federalist Papers?
No.
No. Okay, well, it's all laid out in there that it was never supposed to become what it has become. It was never supposed to have, the way it was written was that you went into, and it's the same in with all political systems. You have a bit of life experience, you go into politics for a bit, and then you go back into what you were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
It was never supposed to be a life choice, because you look at, for example, Biden. He's been in politics since, I think, about 1743. He's always been there, and yet I know term limits were only brought in after the Second World War for presidents, but there was always an unwritten agreement before then sorry, words, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There was always an unwritten agreement that you would only use 2 terms.
Well, that was
You would only have 2
Washington's.
terms.
That was Washington's thing. Was, look, I'll
Yeah.
serve for a term and I'm out. I don't want to be president. Our best president didn't want to be president.
Yeah. Because power corrupts.
Yeah. Well, it's 10:05. Do we have time for our final topic?
Well, I'm off for the next couple of days, so don't worry about me.
Don't worry about you.
No.
That's adorable.
If Jen's fine, I'm fine. Jen's the main reason that we end when we do. So if she's fine to stay on, I've got no problem with it.
Well, it's a good conversation, and I like the conversation.
Yeah. So the next topic up for rattling around is the Atlantic put a paper out calling for a sort of amnesty. People who were very fascist, very authoritarian back in the days of COVID are now trying to go somewhere between pleading innocence and, begging for forgiveness.
No.
Yeah, I'm
No.
finding that to be a very, very, very common reply. No fucking way.
Well,
No.
Yeah.
Besides the sheer magnitude of evil that they've already committed, they didn't even apologize and admit fault before demanding forgiveness. They're just
Still
like,
haven't.
yeah, you know what? Mistakes were made. Let's not dwell on who made them. Let's just all agree to forgive each other. Like, no, fuck you. You're the one who did everything wrong. I don't forgive you at all.
No, there's
Yeah.
this thing called learning from mistakes, and I've learned from your mistakes, which means I don't want to trust these people with anything.
No, of course
Yeah.
not.
That's what I learned.
Even Chad
The
is behind
phrase, the phrase "fuck you" and the horse you rode in on.
Mhm.
springs
there's
to
just
mind.
there's just too much grief, and I'm sorry, you can't beg forgiveness when people are in grief mode. It's just
No. Just make a quick point here. Camel, I don't want just some contrition. I want them to absolutely prostrate themselves and beg for forgiveness.
I think
I
there
want
should
to
be
make
some-
it as painful and as humiliating as possible. Economies that destroyed people's lives. You had you've all seen the videos, people at funerals. I mean, Jesus Christ, Queen Elizabeth lost a husband of 70 years and she had to sit separate.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, they tormented so many people under this false sense of saving everybody. And I'm not sad at all that I'm gonna fall back on Kendra. But yet again, the reason she is not here is because Fawn is alive. And there's not a second in her moments of her life where she has ever regretted her decision. So this idea that somebody's grandparents in their last years wouldn't want to see their family members, yeah, they all do. You still you can still do it and take care of yourself without everyone else interfering.
I mean, that's the same on a much smaller scale with my mother. I mean, she wanted to see her grandson during the lockdowns, and to be honest, there was no fucking law in the world that was going to stop her.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care if it's strictly speaking illegal. Fuck you! I'm going to take care of my grandkid. Especially like he was born like last year. Like these are the moments you want to make sure you spend as much time with them as you can. And he's like, no, I don't give a fuck what the law is. I'm gonna see that kid.
I'm in a tough spot here because a lot of people have lost a lot of things to COVID. I haven't. Of course, my phone would go off in the middle of the show. But I'm one of the few people who didn't really lose anything except the freedom. I didn't lose any people. I didn't miss any burials or people in the hospital. I didn't have anybody close who died from COVID or like that. So it didn't really impact me. But it's clear that there should be repercussions, and I don't think contrition or any of that stuff is far enough. I think
God, no.
charges need to be applied here. People need to
No, my
spend
point
some time
is
in jail.
not that. My point is not that an apology would be enough. My point is to highlight they haven't even done that, and they're demanding forgiveness. Like to highlight just how egregious they're being.
Yeah, and see this, the whole thing, the whole 2 years of it, well, it's still going on. It always brings to mind, I don't know if anybody knows the C.S. Lewis quote.
The one about they have the permission from their own morals if they believe they're acting for your benefit, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep, his cupidity may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience.
Well, it was the way that they were moralizing things that I think most people were catching on to right away. Like, first of all, I have never once actually seen somebody from, and I'm using the highlight quotes because it's retarded, the anti-vax side, wishing harm on somebody who'd had gotten it. Like, they're not wishing that COVID people die from COVID. They're
Nope.
hoping that they get well, that they get the treatment that they need, and that they get well soon. And that any grief that happens to their family, that, you know, they're really, like anybody should be, they're aggrieved with them because death sucks. But
Yeah.
the other side, and it wasn't all of them. I don't want to gaslight everybody because I don't think everybody was doing it. But the ones who were ganging in on it, it was even people offline who were like, yeah, you know, if you don't do what I do, you should just die. Like, what? At what point
Yeah.
do we live in a society where you wish death upon somebody because the method in which they use to take care of themselves is different from yours? That's gross.
Yep.
Yep. You know, it was like, what's it? Because I don't know how it was sort of at the start in Canada, the US, or Oz, although Oz did go sort of full on bonkers with it,
Oh God, Australia was insane.
you know, but it was like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, don't kill Granny.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how they got people, because they made that appeal to emotion, you know, and right, 99.9% of people are good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know, they don't want to cause harm, and what they did was pure emotional manipulation. I mean, Susan Mitchie, she worked for Independent Sage, one of the health groups over here. Lifelong member of the Communist Party, and
Naturally.
they basically controlled the narrative. There was no objective thought allowed. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
it's only just in the last couple of months we're allowed to objectively talk about it now. You know, 6 months ago, me speaking like this would have got the channel banned.
Yeah, it got many a channel taken down because they
Yeah.
dared to speak the truth.
We got a hit. Minions got a
Yeah.
week off because of my big
Yeah.
mouth. Of all
Yeah,
the
I'm not even
companies,
gonna. I'm not even gonna say why I think I got it. Just because.
of all the countries in the West, Australia was the only one that had actual COVID camps.
Yes.
No, New Zealand did as well, didn't they? Or did they just
I'm
I
aware
pretty
don't
of.
know.
much do with China?
Well,
New
China's
Zealand
not
was
the
worse
West,
than
but
Australia.
Yeah.
As bad as Australia was, New Zealand took it to the next level. They were fucking psycho.
Well,
they became isolationists, really.
Mm.
I mean, they already are because it's a tiny little island. They don't even show up on half the maps. Hell, Australia doesn't show up on half the maps. But then
Australia doesn't exist.
I never really kept in touch.
True.
I never really kept in touch with FAR during the COVID process, as I should have, because her being on the other side of the country, what happened with Australia might have been different from her perspective. Because almost everybody I know is in the East. You know,
Yeah.
she's the only person I know out West. So I like to ask her questions about how, now looking back over the last 2 years, give me a timeline when things happened and what you thought, and I like to have that conversation with her sometime. But anyway, so we've gone through all the topics. Is there anything you guys want to bring up before we get out of here tonight?
I can't think of anything.
I would like to very briefly circle back to
We've got Densaki amongst us.
yeah, to be fair, but I suppose you were saying about the people that Musk is talking to, right, and how you're not quite that black-pilled yet, right?
Not yet.
I used to be what was called a hopeful cynic. I always expected the worst, but I always hoped for the best. And now I'm not. I am black-pilled to the nth degree. It's going to get worse because they've already shown what they can do and what will allow them to do.
Well, I've been an Elon fan for a while, and if he sticks to what he says as opposed to what he's doing, we should be in reasonable stead. It'll be better than the old Twitter if he sticks to what he says. He has a tendency to oversell.
I do think it'll be an improvement. I don't think it'll be
salvation.
What people have convinced themselves it's going to be.
Yeah. I agree with Terry. Yeah. I do think it'll be an improvement. I do think the left is going to be churning for a while, and at the very least, people should enjoy that.
People start paying for check marks. That's money coming in that they don't have to worry about advertisers anymore. So you'll see less ads. So there's a possibility there. If this council turns out to be truly, how's the word I can use? Everyone bipartisan. Might be
egalitarian.
Egalitarian. If it turns out to be something like that, that could be a good thing. I'm very much more willing to wait and see what happens next. I don't want to make any judgments because, that whole thing is something I'm very clear about. It's the same. This goes all the way back to being the Covington accident. Never overreact immediately to what happens. Let what's happening stir a little bit. Let a little time go by and see what happens, because the people who got Covingtoned, some of them were repentant and some of them weren't. I don't want to be the fool who jumps to conclusions. I'm not saying this to anybody here, but I personally myself don't want to jump to a conclusion like Cat Turd is doing, that all things are going to be bad and then they turn out to be evil and then I'm wrong. I'd rather just say, well, let's wait and see. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe even just saying wait and see is the wrong way to do it. But I'd rather be wrong about waiting and seeing than say, oh, it's going to be awful, and then it turns out not to be awful, and then I have egg on my face.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, I'm probably like most of you here. I got on the internet in 1990. So it was back when it was reasonably unregulated, right? Back then, and if you'll excuse my vernacular, if somebody was being a twat, you could call them one, and that was it.
Well, it looks like you can again. Well, we'll see. Because there's been an uptick in slurs on the internet as far as Twitter's concerned, and I don't see people getting hit for it.
I think that was a very temporary thing. Once people got it out of their system, it died off.
Yeah.
Now that's an angle I haven't thought of. So I know we're going to leave, and I'm going to leave this as like maybe a potential topic for another day. But, one of the problems that was on Twitter that I could see them maybe holding on to a guy to, if he had information on things, because that one dude who's like, most people are really upset about, he was in the tech, wasn't he? Like he was kind of techie or something. My reasoning on that is one of the problems with Twitter was the fact that they did have a bunch of pedo rings. So if that
Yes.
guy had information on that kind of crap, I would hold on to him, not because I like him, but because there's some people you hold on to until you tie up loose ends that need to burn in hell. I don't know if that's the case either, but I'm just saying that's also a case.
Right, yeah. The one who's current head of Twitter safety, yep.
Like, I'm not saying he's holding on to him because he wants to, but if there was a reason to hold on to a dude like that, that would be one of those things where I would talk to the devil for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Just until I could tie those loose ends, you know?
No, I completely agree. Sometimes you do have to, yeah, you have to talk to people that you don't like. And I do understand that point of view. But, I mean,
We don't know
like,
yet.
no, so, I mean, I'm still going to be a cynical. But, yeah, I think that's actually a good point.
Yeah, well, like I said, I just don't want to be put in a bad position because I've seen other people do it, especially Claudia. She jumps a lot.
I was going to say, I was waiting to see if you mentioned her name or not.
Yeah, I try not
Who's
to.
Claudia?
I mentioned Claudia Brown is used to be Ranting Feminist. I mentioned her at the beginning of the stream tonight.
Yes.
I'm trying not to mention her name too much because maybe I'm getting
Diddley Dom's friend from
Yeah.
the beginning of the stream.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I don't know if they're friends, but Claudia follows her and she likes some of her tweets.
Well, I think Claudia is kind of in love with her because she's constantly talking about how gorgeous Diddley Donger is and such. So
Well, Claudia's
I know.
bisexual, so yeah, I can see that. But like I was saying before, it's a position I don't want to put myself in. I don't want to be I don't want to jump to conclusions and end up looking like I'm jumping to conclusions basically. So
Mhm.
I'd rather wait and not say anything because Claudia doesn't wait and say anything. She just jumps right into it.
Yes,
And I just don't-
she has a tendency to do that.
Yeah. So, and everybody's entitled to how they want to do it. But I tell her, I keep sending her these little notes. Careful. I'll just like send a little thing that says careful. I won't explain to her what I'm talking about, but she just made a bunch of tweets, and I just write right into the tweet, careful, because she'll say stuff that I know it's going to get her shit, and she could be wrong for. I'm just like, yeah, don't do it. Have a little, So I don't know if she ever listens to me or she just gives me the middle finger to her phone. Or something like
I
that.
don't think she listens to you.
I don't think she listens to me any, but I've been right more than I've been wrong. So we'll see what happens in the future. I guess I'm a bit of an optimist in that respect. So,
see, I remember the days where I was an optimist. It must be nice to be so young and full of hope for the world.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we rock and roll?
It's not much, but I did get a tweet that had 245 likes. So I just want to tell everyone that I'm awesome.
Fantastic.
It's funny, the tweets that I make, first of all, congratulations, but the tweets that I make that end up having a lot of retweets and a lot of likes are very not profound things. Like
same here.
This guy tweeted about how we shouldn't give these people forgiveness right away. And another guy came in and said, you should do this and you should do that and you should do this and we were right all along, blah 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 blah. And I just wrote back to the guy, you're proving his point. And that thing went crazy. All I said was you're proving his point. And I got likes. I'm like, what the fuck is all this? So yeah, it's weird how that happens. What was the tweet that got you all the likes? What did you say?
So someone had a picture of Rachel Maddow saying, when Twitter verification can be bought for $20, people won't know who they should listen to. This is how democracies die. So my reply was, she has a point. At the moment, we know to ignore anyone who has one.
That's pretty funny.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
yeah, apparently that resonated with people.
Yeah. There's a lot of hate for Rachel Maddow
Yeah.
because she was all Russiagate and she was big on the COVID lockdowns too. So she's one of the evil people. So.
Yes.
All right. Well, it is 10:30. It's probably the longest stream we've ever done. So we should
I
probably,
think it might be, yeah.
yeah, we should probably
Sorry.
skedaddle. Let me do my outro here. Thanks, chat, as always, for hanging out with us tonight. Remember, we're trying to get Rumble channel up and running. So if you have an account on Rumble, go ahead and give us a follow. Minions of the Zoo on Rumble. Eventually, we'll live stream there as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and you'll be helping the minions grow.
I'll put the link in chat, but just so people know, it is all one word. It won't come up if you put Minions of the Zoo. It has to be one word.
And it's also in our description down below. As for YouTube, if you can't wait for the next Wednesday show, remember the Minions are live every evening, including weekends, with most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Host and start times are linked in the description, along with our Rumble channels I mentioned. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good one,
Bye, everyone.
guys.
Have a good one.